think, you know, seeing a student with a phone, reminding them. You know, sometimes you can just say, what is the rule? What does the syllabus say about phones? What is our practice? And then, you know, the second time or the third time, I'm going to need to ask you to leave, or let's talk about this after class. I need you to put it away. And that's probably what I do. I need you to put it away. Let's talk about it after class. And then say, you know, what's going on here? It's possible that that phone being out is because they have a kid in crisis. There could be an extenuating circumstance there, in which case I would probably say, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to sit by the back door. I'm going to ask you to put it on vibrate. And I'm going to ask you to step out of the room when you get that phone call. And so you don't, you know, because again, that's survival. They're going to be worried about their child. Anything else? I mean, you're the faculty. I teach part-time at Cal State Dominguez, and I teach social work, and I have them. Many of my students are on call, and I just want them to sit at the back. I put it in my syllabus. If you're on call and you need to answer the phone, sit at the back of the room so you can leave when the phone rings. Okay.
I want to talk about keeping in mind the students that are having a child in crisis. Often when it's a student that's relatively, you know, responsible and hardworking, my reaction is often to go home. I mean,
Yes.
You clearly can't concentrate. If somebody's in the hospital, some loved one is sick, what are you doing here in the first place? And this is not your first priority.
And oftentimes the attendance policy doesn't really allow for that. But then sometimes I'll tell them, don't, you know, you get a freebie. Don't use your freebie for something unimportant. Save it for those important things that, you know. So that's between the instructors and the students, but looking at ways to remove that kind of stress. But I'm with you.
Because they're distracting other students as well. They're drawing attention to themselves.
Yeah. And the same way with staff. If staff have children that are sick, they need to go home and be with their kids. Okay, stress trigger and behavior. Sometimes you'll find that the reminders are upsetting. Why would a reminder be upsetting to a student when you're reminding them? Reminding them over and over. Does anybody like to be reminded of things they forgot? So did I just trigger something for you?
I think it's in how it's said, how it's presented.
Yes.
I mean, we could use our words like, no, I just want to remind you this is coming up, or don't you remember, you know, this is, so
Yeah.
it's how we present it.
And that's a real key. It's how we say it. It's how we frame it, how we present it is going to have a different reaction. If the presentation has a tone of, well, stupid, you should have known and remembered, then that's going to have a different response or an understanding that has with it a framework of an understanding. Triggers and stressors and behaviors, try to block out problems and not think about them. Avoidance, Derek, you mentioned that. They just disengage. A lot of times what will happen is they just want to block it out. They want to pretend like it doesn't exist. I see this a lot of times with paperwork that feels really overwhelming, financial aid paperwork that feels really overwhelming. Scholarship applications. Come in at the last minute. I want help with my scholarship application. It really feels overwhelming. What can we do to help students not feel overwhelmed about that? Any ideas?
Break it down into steps.
You said that, yeah.
Have a workshop.
Have a workshop.